I drew the short end of the stick and had to do a show with Kenn Rashad. Welcome to the SWAC Page, our news show that will be exclusively content about the Southwest Athletic Conference. I'm Kendrick, and that's Kenn Rashad. We're both SWAC graduates. He went to Gramling State, and I went to Jackson State, but we're doing the show together. We're mortal enemies outside of this, by the way. Only get along just for y'all. But anyway, but this is the brainchild of my longtime friend, Kenn Rashad. He really has been for years really adamant about us expanding our network, and we've done that. Last week we had our debut show of the Miak and More with Chris Stevens. Today we got the SWAC page with myself and Kenn. Tomorrow will be better than less than with Jared Hoffman. We're going to talk about Division II and beyond sports. So we want to expand our network and bring you content that we think matters to you, because everything matters to us. Kenn, how you feel about the show today, man? What's been going on?
Well, I'm excited about the opportunities. It's been a long time coming, as you indicated. Something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. It was just simply a matter of just at some point, executing it. And though, things may not necessarily be perfect. In this case, perfection isn't necessarily the goal, but we do want to strive for, at the very least, consistency. So we want to consistently make sure that we move forward with this. And then as we progress, we will eventually get better. But I'm still very excited because I think this particular episode in particular is going to be a fun one. And like I said, you guys just hold us accountable, but most importantly, continue to support us. And we will do whatever we can do whenever we can to continue to produce our very best. So with that said, this episode is being brought to you by the Kenn Rashad channel on YouTube. This is my personal project where I specialize and discuss entrepreneurship, branding, and lifestyle. And you will feel free to go to the video. It's Kenn Rashad. And you will see, I will tell you some stories, primarily in my quest to free trips to Vegas and, almost free trips to Miami and so forth, all using credit card points. So anyway, that's beside the point. That's the sponsor of this show. And Kendrick, let's move on. So we had a new coach named with Florida A&M. A name that most of you should be familiar with. And Kendrick, I'll let you lead us into this.
Yeah, so Charlie Ward, for us older millennials, we know him as the former quarterback for Florida State Seminoles, Heisman Trophy winner. He played in the NBA for a long time, more than a decade, most famously with the New York Knicks, where he was a part of their 1999 NBA Finals team that lost to the Spurs. But he has since crafted out a really good post-athletic career as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as a community leader. He's since 2018 been in Tallahassee, doing a lot of community work, being an advocate for young people. And now he is the new basketball coach at FAMU, just a couple of weeks after they lost Patrick Crary II to Gramling State. In a very shocking. Why are you laughing, man? That's not funny. See, already starting from the wrong foot, man. You're gonna have so many people from FAMU mad at you already. 30 seconds into the show. But anyway, Charlie Ward, in my opinion, is the best hire that FAMU could have made considering the circumstances and considering who Charlie Ward is and his ties to the Tallahassee community. He literally was born on the campus of FAMU. His parents met at FAMU. His dad, Charlie Sr., played football as a quarterback at FAMU. He mentioned today in a press conference that he went to football games and basketball games at FAMU. So he has definitely been entrenched and is familiar with the FAMU culture. So, Kenn Rashad, what do you make of Charlie Ward being the new head coach at Florida A&M?
Before I go into details with that, I just have to say this. The man claims to have been born a Rattler. Parents were Rattlers. Generational Rattlers. But yet he felt led to play for Florida State.
Look, man, it's his decision. His dad was supportive of it, man.
I'm not saying they weren't supported. I'm just an observation. But anyway, okay. So you're right. And put the graphic back up. You're right. This under the circumstances, this was about as good as FAMU could do when you put in consideration where we are with recruiting, how how delicate things are right now with NIL and with the transfer portal and so forth. And when you put in consideration the options that these student athletes have now with respect to NIL money, as well as, transfer portal and so forth, it was to FAMU's benefit to do whatever they could to hire someone as quickly as they could without providing a whole lot of, disruption. So yeah, I have no problem with the hire. I think it's a good one. Like you said, all things considered. I am going to be interested to see though what involvement, if any, the higher ups out above the AD, the board, and so forth. I wonder what their viewpoint on this is. But anyway.
Well, I mean, like they hired him to a 5-year contract that will pay him over the life of that contract more than $900,000. So they are truly invested this time in a basketball coach. I know it's Charlie Ward; he's different than Patrick Curry, but they are really taking basketball seriously now.
Oh, now they're taking it seriously. Oh, look, we have to ask the question: Did the board learn its lesson? Did the board learn its lesson in all of this?
I mean, I think so. I mean, like after Patrick Curry left, they had to do something because he was up until last year was the best coach that had since they left the MEAC.
Yeah. So
like I said before, like Charlie Ward couldn't have been a better fit for the job. We don't know how he's going to do as a college head coach. He has some success as a high school coach, winning the state championship down in Florida.
Florida High.
Florida High. Yeah, in 2022 he did that. But like he knows the community, he knows the young people there. So he, at least from a recruiting standpoint, he's got an edge there. So we'll see how it goes. But like
well, you froze. So, but dude, you got to do something.
To a clip because he wasn't really looking for work. Kind of like George wasn't looking for work either. But like, here's what Charlie White said about why he decided to come to FAMU.
The development of the Champions Ranch, which will offer multi-generational athletics, education, recreation, wellness, performance arts, and life skills. It will be a destination for youth and families to play and so much more. Right here in Tallahassee. The ranch will provide sports, support services, mentorship, and skill development opportunities that empower the next generation to succeed in work and life. Our collective collaborative impact model will bring together multiple organizations through partnerships, including with institutions like FAMU, which will help contribute to a stronger and more vibrant community. This next chapter as a collegiate coach is not a stepping stone. I'll say it again. This next chapter as a collegiate coach is not a stepping stone. Rather, it solidifies our commitment to Tallahassee. And I'll triple down on this one. Because this is the only job, collegiate job, that I was willing to take.
Wow. Yeah, so at the top of clip, he's talking about a facility he's trying to get constructed down in Tallahassee that's centered around youth development. And so he may mention that because of that project is ongoing right now, it made him want to more so entrench himself into the Tallahassee community. And so when he was approached by AD Suggs about this job, it was the only job he would consider to be a college coach because of all his ties he has to the area and kind of like what he wants to do down there. So Kenn Rashad, what do you think about that?
I would love to know what other opportunities or offers he'd received prior to this one, if any. It's easy to say that this isn't a stepping stone, and I know what he meant by that, but I will just simply say this. It's okay to say it. Well, you may not want to say it, but it's okay if this is a stepping stone. Okay. no matter where we are in our career, no matter what we do, I think you'd be foolish not to, at the very least, aspire to other opportunities if there are. If you've got goals, or if you have if you aspire to do more, it's okay. It's okay to accept the fact that in order to get to that next level, there are steps to get to that level. And so I know why he had to say that. I'm not getting on him. It's just that because we got some simple-minded folks out there. And simple-minded folks can't necessarily take someone or an institution, in this case, being considered a stepping stone if it might lead to a greater opportunity. Because I'm here to tell you, if he's got this 5-year deal, and if he, for whatever reason, say year 1, year 2, year 3, goes ahead and just starts winning like bananas, and he's Charlie Ward, by the way, and with his name and everything that comes with it. And he comes in and he's, constantly a contender in the SWAC. And, in 3 years or so, all of a sudden now, if he's getting offers from maybe, Power 4 institutions, and they say, hey, we want you to come and consider our program. Look, I'm going to just simply say this. I'm not saying he'd go, but he'd be foolish not to at least entertain it. It's okay. It's okay if this is a stepping stone on to greater opportunities. Because believe me, if things don't work out, I promise you, FAMU will be stepping on him. So I look, but I understand the reason why he said it, but this is all about wins and losses. But look, best of luck to him. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope it works out well for him and FAMU.
Now, speaking of that, like they lost some guys in the transfer portal coming off what to some schools may be a mediocre season, but for them was a really great season. Do you think him being at FAMU now makes them a better basketball team, or they still got a lot of work to do considering the state they were in before he got there?
No one knows what's going to happen with this. Okay. Just like no one really knew what was going to happen with Patrick Crary. Now, if you leave it up to the board of directors or the board of regents or whatever they refer to over at FAMU, they thought this was a sinking ship as soon as Tiffany made the decision to bring him on. So no one really knows, as is the case with any coaching hire, you never really know what the outcome is going to be. All you can do is be optimistic. And I guess based upon what we saw from the press conference today, folks were optimistic. And, we'll see what happens. But if look like this is the press conference today was a very positive first step, because at the very least, everybody is all in. Considering what happened with the previous coach, everybody is all in now. I think everybody is lockstep, which is a good first sign. And so now it's okay. Now we got to recruit. We need, we got to get some NIL money put in case. I heard AD Suggs talking about the situation before about the bus rides and so forth. I commend her for that. All of that is understandable. But NIL money, recruiting, and seeing what type of a product can be put up next year when basketball season starts, this is where the hard work begins.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned what AD Suggs had to say, Angela Suggs had to say, because she mentioned in her address before she introduced Charlie Ward about how the entire school and its stakeholders, sorry for Stevens, they had to commit themselves financially and manpower wise to elevate the entire athletic department, the entire program, because there have been some missteps over the years, sad to say. And so I think she realized that, hey, if we want to be who we think we should be, then we have to make a new commitment, because it's very, very competitive now with NIL on the transfer portal. You really have to be dedicated, and you have to be all in to want to elevate your program. So make a commitment like to Charlie Ward, despite the fact he is a big name. I think that it kind of shows the commitment they have, because when Patrick Crary left for Gramling State, at least online from what I saw, the administration received a lot of criticism from him, because how he turned the program around. They seem to be going in the right direction. As Kenn Rashad laughs at that prospect. But yeah, like, so this is a very good PR win for them, if anything else, because they got a guy who's known in the area, who has some success in the area. You may get some interested parties outside of FAMU to invest in the program, kind of like we saw with Michael Vick and their spring game over the weekend at Norfolk State. Some stakeholders who not tied to the program, but maybe big Florida State fans, big Charlie Ward fans want to see him do well, so they're going to invest in FAMU too. So it's nothing but a win-win right now in the offseason. But like when they throw the ball up in the wintertime, we'll see how it all plays out.
Yep. No disagreements. No lies detected so far, Kendrick. You're batting 1,000.
Thank you very much. And quickly before we move on to the next topic, we're going to get to talk about Patrick Curry bringing the Gramling. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, again, similar to the situation with FAMU, and similar to where we are, it was incumbent upon Gramling to do or to move quickly and swiftly. I think it's safe to conclude, and I have this on pretty good authority, that when it became pretty clear that Coach Jackson was gonna leave to go to A&M, there were already a handful of people who were kind of like on that short list, if you will. So this isn't a surprise. Now, with respect, I want to say this because of what reports that were said. I think it's important, and I have not. My understanding is that because people were saying that Curry never signed the contract at FAMU when that extension was offered. My understanding is that he did sign the contract. He did sign the contract extension. However, that contract extension didn't become effective until after July 1st, basically, I guess the fiscal year. So he was currently still in his 1-year contract with no contingency in place, in which, that's kind of how this all happened. That's how he was able to leave. Because a lot of people saying, well, how did he leave? And he signed the extension. He said, people said he didn't sign, or there were reports saying that he never signed. My understanding is, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is that he did sign that contract extension, but because it didn't go into effect until like July 1st or after July 1st, thus the current year still stands. And it was only a 1-year deal. So, so I say this, I have no problem with the hire, given where we were, or we being Gramling, given where Gramling was, given what the situations involved, given how fluid everything is with players and in the transfer portal. I have absolutely no problem with the hire. I am behind the hire. Kudos to Travion Scott for making the hire, and Coach Curry. I'll hopefully we'll get to meet, and good luck to you going forward. So those are my thoughts, Kendrick.
So Gramling wants to get a basketball school. Am I right?
Until proven otherwise.
We'll see in the fall if that changes.
Right.
And speaking of football, Thursday is the NFL draft. It's going to be held in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So some HBCU guys are going to be on some teams' radars. We're going to focus on the SWAC guys for this particular show. This is a SWAC show. You got Carson Vincent, who is the offensive lineman for Alabama A&M. He is Irv Mulligan, the running back for JSU, who's SWAC Player of the Year a season ago. Robert McDaniel, who shot up the draft charts at defensive back from Jackson State as well. He recently got a workout from the Washington Commanders. Kendall Boulder, Florida A&M, another really good, solid defensive back. He's also could be a possible draft pick. Kenn Rashad, I ask you, we ask this every year, which one of these guys you think, if any, will have their name called at some point this weekend?
Carson Vincent or bust. But we've been down this road before when in the HBCU space, there's typically that one or maybe two exceptional, and I do mean exceptional HBCU players that pretty much is kind of like there's a general consensus of that person's definitely going to get drafted, only to find out or only to learn after the fact that that exceptional or those exceptional players, or one or two, whoever they may be, didn't get drafted. And everybody's left scratching their head. Well, damn, what is it that you're looking for? So I will simply say this. I will simply say this. When it's all said and done, when the draft is concluded, when we finally have that final tally of number of players drafted from HBCUs, there are going to be some that's like, whether it be 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever the number may be, there are going to probably be some folks that cry foul and saying that players weren't drafted from HBCUs. But I will just simply say this. Before you make that argument, you need to look at the greater number and say, okay, while there may not have been the number of players that you wished would have been drafted from an HBCU, we got to see the overall number of players drafted from FCS institutions, as well as the overall number of players drafted from Division II institutions, as there may likely be, and as we've seen before in the past. So those are the indicators. Those are the indicators. And so now, if there's maybe like this wide sweeping number of FCS players who've been drafted and maybe no one from HBCUs, then okay, you might have an argument. But I think we need to kind of look at all of the numbers before we kind of cry foul about whether or not players from HBCUs should have been drafted or not. I think we need to be really careful about that, because we have this argument just about every single year.
Yeah, and those numbers for non-Power 4 or non-FBS players getting drafted are always like under 10. I think the most in a year was like maybe like 8 or 9 from the FCS or lower levels being drafted. But this draft, from everything I've been reading here, it's kind of like a weak draft overall.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think it's the first time since like 1993 where no NFL team in the first round traded a draft pick so far.
So far,
because they consider like pretty much the players to be kind of like all in the same range in terms of the evaluation. But you mentioned Carson Vincent, who's the top Black College football lineman out in the draft this year. I'm gonna read you something that Dane Bugler of The Athletic wrote about him in his Beast NFL draft guide. He's one of the few Black College football players that Bugler wrote about. So he got Vincent as a 5th round pick, which is not surprising at all, considering Vincent played in the Senior Bowl, got a combine invite. His 6'6", 105-pound frame is very inviting to some teams who like those big linemen. But here's what Bugler had to say about Carson Vincent. He writes, Vincent has some habits that must be fine-tuned before he's ready for NFL competition, but he has intriguing physical traits with energy and a desire to get the most out of his ability. There shouldn't be an exception of an immediate return on investment, but he is a worthy draft and developed lineman. So Carson Vincent, it looks like from the mock drafts I've seen, he seems to be the most frequent Black College football player who is going to be taken either in the 6th or 7th round. Some mock drafts have him as a priority free agent. Robert McDaniel, another guy who's very highly touted as a possible NFL draft pick. ESPN's Jordan Reed, who played quarterback at North Carolina Central during his collegiate days, he's a draft analyst. He mentioned that he is considered a draftable player because of his physical traits. He runs a 4.55 in the 40. He has a 38.5-inch vertical leap and a 10.8 foot broad jump. All those traits have impressed scouts. Last week, he had a private workout with the Washington Commanders, who need a lot of help on defense if you watched them play last year. So he's another guy, Black College football guy who really could get drafted into the 6th or 7th round and will be definitely a priority free agent. One more player I'm gonna throw at you is Penn State running back Irv Mulligan. He happened to be in a position where he's going to be in the draft where the draft class is pretty deep this year for running back, led by Ashton Jeanty of Boise State. But he mentioned in an interview on the NFL Network last week that like he believes like he is just as good, if not better than all those guys, if given opportunities to show his stuff. But scouts say his main challenge will be trying to stand out in what is a very deep running back class this year. Gerald Huggins with draft HBCU players in FCS Football Central. He mentioned he's got to prove himself that he's done enough in the pre-draft workouts to get on some teams' radars. If he doesn't get drafted, I do think he will be a priority
free agent. Yeah. Dude, you've got you keep freezing, but I'll say this about Irv Mulligan. Drafted or not, without question, he's going to get an opportunity to show what he can do. Whether drafted or not, he's going to, he's going to get a sign on with somebody as a free agent. He's going to get his opportunity. And I have absolutely no reason to think or believe that he won't make the most of it. And as deep as the list of running backs may be, without question, and I really believe this, he's going to make somebody's roster. He's going to make somebody's roster. He and Vincent are going to make somebody's roster. I do believe Vincent is going to get drafted. That's not wishful thinking. I think he's going to get drafted. And it might very well be in the 6th or 7th round. But Irv Mulligan is going to make somebody's roster. May not be drafted, but if he signs on as a free agent, eventually he's going to make somebody's roster.
I think McDaniel too, because like McDaniel, he had the most impressive, at least measurements at the HBCU Combine and in the pro day as well. He really impressed scouts there too. So if someone want to take a flyer on him in the later rounds, like he wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets drafted either. But I think you're right. Vincent probably is going to get drafted in the later rounds, and then you got McDaniel and then Irv Mulligan, and that after that it's going to be kind of like priority free agents or like camp invites guys.
Right. But yeah, let me. I was just going to say, let me say this. We put a link in, and so we welcome anybody if you want to have a discussion. As someone just chimed in, bring them up, Kendrick. Doc Holliday, I take it you've got something you want to say. How you doing, brother?
I'm good friend, Doc Holliday. What's up, man? How you been, man?
Man, I'm good. It's 2-on-1 today. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
What's up, man? What's up with you?
Man, I'm doing blessed. I'm feeling blessed, man. Taking one day at a time. Started a new position at work, so
right.
I've been on and off this thing, so I'll be working at night. but now, first and foremost, to go back, let's piggyback out to the Charlie Ward introduction. He could have easily went over to Florida State once Leonard Hamilton resigned from the head coach position. Could have easily went over there.
Okay, you say he could have easily gone over there. Now look, I don't follow Florida State. Was that position offered to him? Are you aware of that?
The position was kind of offered to him. Like I think he did put his name in the hat because Troy White at My Sports, he always talk about that because he's a Florida State guy. But at the same time, they went into another direction. I guess they didn't want to deal with anybody that wanted to be that had any other ties with Florida State. But I've also said this too, that the board of trustees for FAMU shortchanged Patrick Crary. I say that because what he did on the Division II level was great because he was also the AD when he was at St. Thomas, plus the head men's basketball coach. But at the same time, hey, you shortchanged him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we all realize that. He was a Division II success story, and then they didn't believe he deserved more than 1 year to be the head coach at FAMU, and so he overperformed his contract, and not surprising that he's no longer there because he felt this. Maybe I don't know how he thinks, but maybe he thought, well, if they're not committed to me on the front end, why are they going to be committed to me on the back end, or why should I be committed to them on the back end? Because he mentioned on his press conference at Gramling last week that pretty much he felt like they believed in him from the outset, and that resonated with him a lot, which made the decision to leave FAMU to go there all more attractive. So it's not surprising. I think FAMU dropped the ball on that one, but they rebounded by hiring Charlie Ward. And I think both schools, Grambling and Florida A&M, really came out on top. They just took different routes to get there.
Yeah. I know we're talking about football now.
No, Doc, I'm just no. The point was, I we got time constraints here, so I just wanted to make sure that we've got a break. So, but that was the primary point. But let me ask you this. So, and I want to go back to what you said about Ward real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Was he officially offered? Again, I don't follow Florida State, obviously, but do you know? Because he says that this job was the position that he wanted, which I guess leads me to believe that he may have been offered collegiate opportunities prior to this one. Right. And I guess I'm asking you with respect to Florida State.
Right.
Do you know if he was actually offered that position?
I think he was. I think they considered interviewing him for the position, but like I said, they went another direction in Luke Locks. Like I said, to me, when it comes to Florida State, he would have been to me, he would have been your obvious choice because of what he's done and the lineage and what he did at Florida State, not only as a football player, but as a basketball player and stuff. And of course, in a way, he still would have been in Tallahassee.
Right. Okay. Well, Doc, brother, I appreciate your call, man. Don't be a stranger, but appreciate you adding to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother.
Yeah, Doc, appreciate it, man. Check out Doc Holliday show, man. HBCU Overdrive, man. He does a really good job.
So, Kendrick, are we going to move on?
Yes, we are going to move on. We're going to talk about a man with a lot of power, wants to control the transfer portal.
Because we got rules.
Yeah, he got rules and regulations. Termaine Jackson, the new head coach, he's a really good talker, man. We got to have him on the show one day. But yeah, Tremaine Jackson, new head coach at Prairie View A&M, he caused a stir on social media by outlining some requirements and rules for the transfer portal and people who wanted to be in there. And so this is what he got 5 rules that every transfer need to follow. And a lot of these are so funny, man. His first rule as part of the Panther portal understanding is number 1, when I follow you, there's a 4-hour window to follow back or we are done. Kim Rashad, that sounds like you. Number 2, send your number, transcripts, and highlight in the first message. Number 3, make sure you address my staff as coach and not bro or by first or last name. Number 4, don't ask me for NIL, which we do have when Pro Football Focus has you as taking less than 200 snaps on the year. You should have gotten your bag from them. Now it's time to play. And 5th and final, but not least, pray, talk to your family, girlfriend, dog, and any other people before we offer you. Not after you take 80 visits. I'm going to want to know ASAP. We look forward to speaking with you soon. Go Panthers. So, Kenn Rashad, what do you make of all these rules that Termaine Jackson got going on here?
If I wasn't on air, you know what? But we can't say it. You know what? I'm gonna just say it. This is one of those times when you read it, and when I first read it, you know what I initially said? Ooh, nigga. My nigga. Look, this is about as plain and as simple as it gets, because for one, I think it addresses obviously realistic expectations, but I think it's telling in that it's there are a couple of things that are plainly obvious to me, okay? But number 3 is what gets me. Make sure you address my staff as coach and not bro or by first or last name. Because with youngsters, everything, bro, look, man, I completely get that and I completely respect it. But the fact when he says, don't ask me for NIL, which we do have, and PFF has you as target lesson 2, it's like, look, man, I think what he's saying is, I got some, I just ain't got a lot. And I'll give it to you based upon merit or if I think you're worthy of it. But first and foremost, you got to want to come here to play because you want to be here and not because you're just coming here to get paid. So I respect it, man. I don't have a problem with this at all. And when you put in consideration what he's done up to this point, he's more than justified for making the comment. And it will be interesting to see if the mindset and the attitude that he's distributed, that he's showing right now on social media, is going to transfer over, with the mindset and the product that we see in the fall. This is on point as far as I'm concerned. Stephen Campbell says Jackson spoke on this many times on the various interviews he's done so this didn't come out of left field. Hey man, like I said, I haven't been following him personally, but when I first saw this was my first time in getting a feel for what he is about. It sounds like someone who is consistent. And like I said, all you got to do is just look at his body of work up to this point. He's probably a no nonsense type of guy. And as the kids say, it is what it is, and you either have to deal with it. And you come here because you want to be here, which, by the way, Prairie View Facilities Campus, beautiful campus. You can't go wrong going to PV.
They got a great campus.
Oh my God! Look, I'm just telling you this. It's almost like the perfect situation. And I'm not trying to be a recruiter here, but I'm just simply saying you're just minutes from Houston, but you got a rural field. It's got an environment that's all of its own, but campus is beautiful, beautiful facilities. Look, man, there aren't too many other places that you want to play than PV. So, they've got everything they need. And it's just simply a matter of putting a product on the field that, can stand the test of time, if you will. But look, man, shouts out to him. Good for him for putting things in place right now. So you know where I stand before, you come here. There's no ambiguity. This is what it is. You either deal with it or you find someplace else to go play.
Yeah, and Tremaine Jackson did an interview with the Defender Network with our friend of the show, Terrence Harris. In response to the many comments he had received about that post, and a lot of them were kind of like misunderstood or misplaced. So this is what he had to say in response to all that. If you can't handle what we put on out there on Twitter about how we operate, how you gonna handle it on 4th and 1 when you've got to get off the field because we play football a different way? Again, everybody got to push Control Alt Delete on what they've seen. This is a brand new thing talking about the transfer portal NIL. If you can't handle that, if your mama can't handle that, daddy can't handle it, then certainly how are you going to handle us? So I'd rather you quit now before you get in our program, waste our money, and quit. Laying it out there. This speaks from a perspective of a coach who's had to deal with this stuff over time, who knows coaches that deal with this stuff over time. And we've spoken before ad nauseum. Coaches don't want to deal with this because there are a zillion players in the transfer portal right now. And the leverage is in favor of these coaches because these kids in the portal, they want somewhere to go. They want somewhere to play. And unless you Cooper Flag or one of these, or Shadur Sanders or Travis Hunter, one of these top flight college athletes, you can't go around demanding things. You have to keep. You have to know, like, you're gonna come into a program that may not have as much as some other schools have, but ultimately, at the end of the day, like, if you want a roster spot, this is how you got to earn it. He's putting it out there right now, and I don't got a problem with that at all. Not one bit.
No. Like I said, especially when you put in consideration what you're, if you're in a situation where you're fortunate to actually play for them. Like I said, man, if you're recruiting, you've never been at that campus, I think you'll be thoroughly impressed and pleased with what you see. So I'm actually kind of excited for PB, man, for this hire. We don't mind you recruiting. Hey man, look, I'm just calling it what it is, Silas. I look, brother. Look, man. I have no ill will towards any HBCU, man. I am all for us coming up. But look, man, I've been on that yard a couple of times. My son was there for one of them football camps, and he left. Was like, ooh wee. I'm like, no, don't you dare. Now you ain't gonna do me like that. I'm just saying.
It was Gramling and bust.
Well, I'm not gonna say it was Gramling and bust because he transferred. But anyway, that's another story. But the thing is this. I know the impact that can have If it had that type of impact on my son, I know the impact that it can have on any other recruit who happens to come on that campus. So I'm just simply saying, man, kudos to Coach Jack, to Tremaine, because this is where we are. Gramling, goddammit. Who you think? Don't get it twisted. For those of you who are listening on the podcast, Stephen Campbell just asked me the question, who's going to win the State Fair Classic? Yeah, like, look, I'm just saying. Anyway.
Are you sure Gramling going to win it? I mean, they don't have a better coach this year.
You don't know that.
You think Termaine Jackson is not a better football coach this matchup?
You gonna really ask me this question right now?
I'm dead for real, man.
Well, I'm dead for real too. We got Mickey
coming out of you again.
We got Mickey. I'm not being stubborn. I just told you the type of. I'm keeping it. I'm being as real as I possibly can. Okay, Isaiah. What's up, brother? Man, good to hear from you. Hey, man. Look, Kendrick, it's too early. It's way too early for that right now. Okay.
It's never too early for SMAC, man. You know this.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, man. People forget like Termaine Jackson's a damn good football coach too. Like, aside from the stuff on Twitter, like he's a really good football coach. I mean, like he led a team to the national championship game in Division II last year, and could have taken a lot of jobs, but decided to go to Prairie View.
Yeah. So, like I said, man, hey, he could have been at Texas Southern. His name. People were saying, you know, before that debacle took place, you know, he was kind of like a leading candidate for the head coaching job at Texas Southern. So look, man, I'm not going to put anything past this brother, because like I said, all you got to do is look at his body of work. You know, we going to see what happens, but you know, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Man, State Fair Classic come around, Kenn Rashad. You better pray, man.
I gotta pray. Look, man, win or lose, it's not gonna impact how I feel or what I think, you know. But I'm keeping it real with you. I just said you had a beautiful campus. I told you the impact that it has on recruits. I done put it all out there, you know. Now, and for the record, I'm not saying that he was thinking, you know, I'm going to PV. You know, he was like, ooh. It was just a little bit too many oohs and ahs for me. I'm just like, okay, don't get it twisted. You know,
he wasn't oohing at the buildings, I don't think.
No, he wasn't oohing on at the buildings. That's the thing. But if full disclosure, I'm just saying. But still, you can ooh and off there in Lincoln Parish, Louisiana. I'm just saying, but. Full disclosure, okay?
The ooh and ahs near Houston is a little bit different than Louisiana.
Look, man. The oohs and ahs are in every part of Black America. So I'm just saying.
I mean, he would have been outnumbered like everywhere else around the country. But
all right.
And speaking of oohs and ahs, there's a social media contest going on right now about the best FCS stadium in America, and some SWAC schools are a part of it. This Twitter fan poll has been run for a couple weeks now by the Twitter account College Football Campus Tours, and they have a NCAA tournament style bracket tournament going on, completely internet fan voting on their Twitter account, trying to determine which FCS school has the best football stadiums. And they have what appears to be a 64-team tournament here. There are 8 SWAC schools that were part of it: Alabama A&M, Gramling, Southern, Jackson State, UAPB, Alcorn State, and Prairie View. They were all a part of it, this contest. And they're in the Sweet 16 round now. Only 2 SWAC schools left: Jackson State.
Man, let's fix that internet.
Number 1 seed in there, part of them. Jackson State. No, those are only 2 HBCUs left.
Jackson State and Alabama State, right?
Yeah. The
Okay.
only two SWAC schools left, and they're in the Sweet 16. Alabama State will go against Yale, and JSU is going to go against North Alabama University. But before we got to that
North
point,
Alabama.
Yeah, North Alabama.
Okay.
North Alabama. Yeah, they made this Cinderella run, man. Happens every time.
Wow.
So Alabama A&M lost to Lehigh. Grambling lost to Chattanooga. Southern lost to Jackson State. How do you lose to Chattanooga, man? They don't respect Eddie Robinson Stadium, man.
All you have to do is
hard
look.
enough.
This is fan driven. Okay, this is fan driven. Now so just to show you how big of a deal this was, I didn't know anything about this until you told me about it today. I didn't even know this thing existed. All right, I don't know what. I've never been to Chattanooga Stadium. I think that was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but before they went to Frisco, isn't that where the FCS National Championship used to be played? I think, right? So I don't know, but all I'm saying is this, man. So who is this? You said Jackson State is going to be against who?
Yeah, Jackson State will go up against NAU. I believe that's Northern Alabama University. I could be wrong, but
or is that Northern Arizona?
It may be. I gotta double check that. But yeah, they're in the Sweet 16. Voting is, I think, it's going to happen this week to determine who gets the Elite Eight in this.
Yeah. TMB saying is Northern Arizona.
Northern Arizona. Okay.
Arizona. Yeah.
All right.
So look, man, I don't know what this has to do with anything.
It's just fun, Ken.
So, but so I'm gonna just simply say this, and this is real talk, okay? The most intimate stadium in all of FCS, bar none, is Eddie Robinson Stadium. It has been designed specifically. There's a slight curve in the stadium to where every single place you sit in that stadium, there is a very intimate view. There is no such thing as a bad seat in Robinson Stadium. It's very picturesque. It's built into the ground. You don't have to climb up a bunch of stairs to get into the stadium. You got to go down. Now, granted, it can be a son of a bitch trying to get out. If you're sitting down at the bottom stadium, you got to go up them stairs trying to get out. That could be problematic, but it's a very intimate setting. And dare I say, probably is, without question, the best football facility in all of FCS. Real talk.
It's not better than Chattanooga, though.
Look, man, this is my opinion. Now,
This one. You're
but this is a fun segment, and this is kind of like smack, right? But I have a tendency to keep it real. Now, and this is probably where Doc probably should have came in, because personally, I think by default, Jackson State doesn't really deserve to be in this because y'all don't own that stadium.
What they got to do?
Bro, the hole is only filled for homecoming. This has nothing to do with it being filled. Brother Campbell, I said it was the seating is intimate. I didn't say anything about it being sold out. That's not the point here. That is not what this argument is about. This is about intimacy. This is the best facility in all of FCS. I'm not joking, by the way. All right, Doc. See, this is where Doc should have probably come in, but no, don't. Yes. Too late now.
He don't even know the history. That state does own their own stadium.
Oh, you finally own it. Okay, so you own it, but it's not on campus.
What the guy doing? He's moving the goalposts again. That's what he does. He moves the goalposts.
It's not on campus. Now I will say this about so Stephen Campbell. You go, look. I told you I went to Bragg for the first time ever. What was that? Last year, 2 years ago for the SWAC championship game. And with the exception, look, the only problem I got with that stadium, because supposedly y'all made like a bunch of renovations, and look, it's a beautiful facility. It really is. But man, look. That damn press box. That ain't a damn press box. I was like, why? Stephen Campbell, I know what you're talking about. I know you've been in there. What the hell kind of press box is that? So
nobody cares about the press box, Ken.
Well, look, I'm just simply saying, if you're gonna have a press box, you might as well just have one. I'm saying, members of the working press. I mean, dude, that I was. Anyway,
No one cares about the plight of the press.
All I'm gonna say is this:
don't care about it.
I've been to a lot of states. Bragg is they've got a nice setup there. I like Bragg Stadium. I do. Mumford is nice. I've never been to ASU Stadium, but none of them come close to Eddie Robinson Stadium.
None of them come close to Eddie Robinson Stadium.
Look, man.
It's not Wrigley Field, Kenn Rashad. It's not Ohio Stadium. It's not Notre Dame Stadium. What are you talking about?
Look, see, you talking about me? Put Stephen Campbell's comment up. Y'all talking about me moving the goalposts. Bragg is old, but we rock that joint. The press box is old. It's an old mobile home. No shit. Oh, you ain't lying. That's exactly what it reminded me of. But still, what's up, brother? What's up, Brian? Because I saw Brian. Dude, look, okay. So this is what made it so bad, because Kendrick and I had a game plan when we went there to cover the SWAC championship game when FAMU was playing PV, and because that damn press box was too damn small, everything that we had planned for that evening pretty much went out the window. And it was raining. Weather was already bad enough as is. And when it finally kind of subsided to where I was able to sit outside and watch the game, I'm literally texting with Kendrick saying, okay, we can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this. But what are we going to do to kind of get this done? So that's the only issue I had with Bragg Stadium. I had no idea what that press box was going to be like, because, I mean, after all, you guys do brag differently, right? And, and I'm just thinking at the very least, you got a decent damn press box, only to walk into that damn closet. And I was like, well, come on, man. I mean, we were literally, everybody is standing up, and the only people who they got room for seating for were people who were responsible for the, stats, the scoreboard operator, the PA announcer, and like maybe one or two other seats. And the guy who's the beat writer at the Democrat, he literally is standing up with his laptop taking over. I'm like, yo, man, this is supposed to be FAMU. What's going on here? So, whatever. It had nothing to do with game day environment. I gave you guys credit for your game day environment, Stephen. I'm just simply saying, this is about overall best stadium. And what I question, it's Eddie Robinson Stadium. Like I said, Jackson State shouldn't care. This shouldn't be in this argument because it's not on campus.
What are you talking about?
It's not on campus.
That's the criteria, Ken. What are you talking about?
But I'm just saying, by default, my criteria. If I'm gonna vote, I probably wouldn't vote for Jackson because it's not on campus. You gotta have it on campus stadium. I'm just saying. But let me see. Where else have I been? PV is nice, but because it's new, there's no nostalgia around it. It's nice, but Mumford was nice. Press box was pretty nice at Mumford. Got to give him credit for that.
So you're serious about press boxes now, not actually like the stadium.
Well, look, man, hey, Mumford is old. So
most of the stadiums around the SWAC are old.
Okay, but I'm just saying. Alcorn is nice.
Hey, man, Brian, man, stop trying to spread his propaganda.
Look,
about
I'm just saying, Jackson State probably needs to be disqualified. You probably shouldn't even have made that list because it's not on campus.
Jackson State routinely leads the FCS in attendance, and it's the best atmosphere in all
that
the FCS.
Was not what this is about. It was best on. It's best in the FCS. It's best in the FCS. It's best in the FCS. It doesn't matter.
It does matter. What do you mean don't matter?
Okay.
You guys playing something called the whole.
So
how does that matter?
Say what?
You guys playing something called a whole.
Well,
that don't sound like aesthetically pleasing. I don't want to play no hole.
But it's an architectural architectural wonder. It was dug in a hole.
An architectural wonder.
Architectural wonder.
By
yeah. By whoever created it.
You know the stadium?
And there were some challenges early along the way, especially when it would flood. I'm just saying. But I'm just saying. But so Ram Nation comes in talking about wait a minute. What do you say? Everyone can't have a stadium on campus.
Yeah, whole stadium shouldn't be counted either. I agree with that. If your stadium is buried underground, it should.
Isn't Winston-Salem Stadium? Isn't that a car track?
Bowman Gray, yeah. They host NASCAR events there. It's valuable to the community. Why is Gramling State Stadium valuable to the community, Ken? What does it do other than host a miniature football team?
Hey man, it's an architectural wonder.
Is it like one of those historical landmarks?
It's a beautiful sight to behold. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. But what, I mean, Kendrick, so what's your view? I'm saying, surely you don't think Jackson State's got the best facility in the FCS, right?
I certainly do think so.
Oh my God. We can't even have an honest conversation here. We can't.
Honest.
This is not, we can't. We can't have an honest conversation.
You calling the whole a relic. It's beautiful structure that's elegant and fabulous. Sir, you're lying. You've not been there. Have you ever been there? Nope, I have not.
I'm trying to tell you, every seat in that stadium is lovely. I've literally sat in every section of that stadium, and I've never complained. Huh?
Including the grass?
Well, no, I didn't sit in the grass. No, don't do the grass. But even from that viewpoint, people have sat in the grass. It's a great view. Beautiful view. No obstructed views. Everything is just, I'm telling you. What's the press box like at the whole? If you're referring to our press box is better than what FAMU has. I'll tell you that now. It is functional. People have places to sit. We've got internet access. We got chairs. We got working spaces. So it is everything a media representative can expect at a FCS football game. It is functional. Now, can't really say that about Bragg, but I'm not taking anything from Bragg because I gave Bragg its props about what it is and what it isn't. I'm just saying. But I can tell you what it ain't Jackson State. Oh, wow. Yeah, they got internet.
I'm surprised they do myself.
You're damn straight we got internet. High speed at that.
Y'all got that Chris Stevens internet.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
So man. Here's the thing. Kenn Rashad's whole argument is like, if your stadium has a pool press box or is not on campus, it don't count or it's bad.
There was no criteria set. So if you're asking me to vote on this, then that's what I'm gonna say. Okay. This is
aside from the whole Kenn Rashad, what's the best stadium in the SWAC to you?
Okay, and I will answer that question. Is it a stadium that I've attended, or just in general that I've actually attended, that I visited, or best stadium? I don't know, man. I don't know. Probably Prairie View. I give Prairie View. It's new and shiny. I'll give you that.
Okay.
A little sleepy.
Sleepy.
PV's a little sleepy. I'm just saying.
Now with Termaine Jackson, he's gonna wake everybody up.
Well, he just might. But I'm just simply saying. Look, man, as pristine and as beautiful as that campus is, you can doze off from time to time. I'm just
saying. I gotta say the vet, man. Do you hold a grudge against the vet because of what happened there 2 years ago when y'all played that game without the G on y'all helmets and the fans
what grudge? No, y'all just beat us down good
in the stadium.
No, man, y'all just beat us down good. But keep in mind, you don't want to go there because look, Gramling Jackson State's daddy. That is great. Look,
go again with this.
No. Look at Gramling, and I'm not making this up. We call Jackson Gramling East. That's how many times we've beaten you in your own place. That's why we say daddy is coming home. We beat you in Gramling. We kick y'all's asses when we play in Jackson. All you got to do is the records don't lie.
I mean, y'all don't
we call Jackson Grambling East.
Football game like 6 years ago because y'all won the muscle milk. But
say what?
No story from the. I said y'all haven't played in Jackson in a long time because 6 years ago y'all football players were moaning about muscle milk.
I blame that on Doug Williams.
Doug Williams.
Yeah, that's all Doug Williams' fault. But that's near here and there. And you know what? Jackson more than made up for it because we had to play in Jackson 3 straight years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying. Look, I personally think this is a silly subject, and it was meant to be a silly subject. But I think we need to go ahead and just wind
y'all
this
got to
down.
find the plans to Chattanooga Stadium and build y'all's as better than them.
Look, man, this is going to conclude the first episode of the SWAC Page Podcast. Guys, look, we are work in progress. We're trying to do something special here. I want to take this moment to thank all of you for taking a few minutes to watch Kendrick and I talk, but whatever it is that we talk about. We ask that you continue to support us with your viewership. By all means, subscribe to the channel and feel free to donate if you feel led to do so. And I can assure you that we will be here often and regularly to keep you informed and to, in many instances, keep you entertained. And also be on the lookout for the debut episode of the Better Than Less Than podcast with Jared Hoffman, who will be talking that stuff on Division II athletics. Very passionate, by the way. And I ask that you guys go ahead and take the time to support him. So look, man, I will say this, and a shout out to everyone who feel free. You guys know me, man. I have nothing but love for HBCUs. Thank you, brother. And I have nothing but love for HBCUs, man. And just know that, Kendrick and I Kendrick's like a little brother. So, this isn't me pointing shade or whatever the case may be, because I know how some of you simple-minded folks get that way, because it's nothing but it's all love here. All right. And believe me, I do know that the very things that we talk about within this great, huge family are things that we wouldn't allow anyone else to talk about. Right. All right. So anyway, for Kendrick Marshall, I'm Kenn Rashad. Thank you for watching this first episode. We will see you next time. God bless you. Until then.